Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Low Code Cafe. This is episode number 137 for May 31st, 2023. Today, we're going to be talking about the future of business communication, AI-driven email routing and automation. I think it'll be an interesting demonstration and something that's well within your reach to be able to do. We will also talk about some hot fixes and some technical issues, but we're going to dive in early into the AI. We'll get into it very quickly. This event is done on Wednesdays every other week, and it's an opportunity for us to show what you can do with Plantain app and demonstrate. It tends to be a technical event where we demonstrate hands-on low coding. All of our past episodes are out on YouTube, youtube.com/PlantainApp. So do sign up for those so that you get notified for when we have new episodes drop. As I indicated, our agenda is pretty straightforward today. I'm going to dive right into hands-on low-code development. And towards the end, I'll talk about some hotfixes and things that are available with our previous versions. Do engage with us, though. You can use the chat window, the question and answer window. You can raise your hand if you want to speak. And after it's all over, do use the feedback form. Let us know what you thought, what you'd like to see next time. As I mentioned, this is a bi-weekly event, so our next live webinar for Low Code Cafe will be held on June 14th. So let's dive right in. The idea behind this low coding session is how to leverage the power of Plantain app together with OpenAI to do streamlined email processing and response. You can, we're going to demonstrate, for example, how you can automatically route emails to an appropriate department. So you've got a common inbox. And like Plantain app has a support inbox, and yet we get all kinds of different questions. And so we might want to route them based on their content. But we also might want to prioritize them, determine urgency, maybe some other things. And at the end of the day, we might want to go get away from using email, and so perhaps create a ticket directly out of an email that comes in, so that it starts to work within our systems rather than just be handled as an email. So we're going to touch on all those things, and hopefully it will be of interest to you. The overview of where I'm going is to quickly show you a demonstration of how this functionality works on my demonstration system, and then we'll start out building it. So if you only have time to hang around and see the impact, we hope to get to that quickly, but hopefully you'll stick around and figure out how to build it as well. So let's start with the demonstration. I have a system here that is configured to receive emails, and it's watching my personal email box for a particular subject. And so if we were to send an email to that, it's going to process it. So let's do one of those. If we were to compose an email to my email box, and the subject that it's looking for is anything beginning with Café 137. Now, by the way, I challenge you, if somebody wants to send an email, and just don't send anything with private information in it. But if you want to send an email and have the subject begin with Café 137, the system will definitely process that. So that would be fun to look at. But I'm going to call this one Dale Warner test. And I'm going to type out some kind of email. Hello, Dale. I am concerned So we have a few details. And we're going to send that email. But so long as it has Café 137 test, it should get processed. So we'll send that on. The system that was looking at, my demonstration system is looking at the inbox, and we see one from Jerry, and it's already done some work for us. So this is an email that came in, and it has routed it to the support department with normal urgency, a very low anger level, and a very low threat level. So it's doing a lot of evaluation. And you'll see it's really quite easy to get that to take place, and that's what we'll dive into before the end of today. If I look at the details of this email, I'll be able to see exactly what was in the body of the email, but also the system has generated a summary that says that summarize the entire email chain. So it'd be, in one or two paragraphs, we can quickly see where the system is, see the value of the email, kind of quickly capture what's going on. So there's the one that I did, and it's come in, but it's still in the process of evaluation. So we'll see that evaluation come in just a second. So part of the key with well, let's dig in. This is sent to my installation department with high urgency. Notice that it's pulled out the account number into a separate JSON field. It has pulled out a project into an array. So in my instructions, you'll see that I said we might have mention of several different project numbers. It's pulled out the invoice number that was done. And it's sensed that the sender is a little bit angry, but he hasn't made any threats. So that's fun. And Patrick is doing one as well. So we'll take a look at that. So the interesting thing, and Patrick, would you do me a favor? Would you send one more email and make a rhetorical threat to me? I don't want it to be from any of our customers. We know that this is just a demonstration, but if you'd make a threat of
sure.
So as we dig into this, you're going to see that the technique for doing this kind of evaluation, it's a pretty straightforward leap to go from here into the other things that we want to do. For example, if you want to send a text every time installation gets a high urgency item, you can use, we have a connector, Twilio, that could send a text to the installation department to get right on that. So texting would be possible. You could send an email if it's, for example, falls into a normal urgency kind of a category. And then the fact that we've pulled out these informations like an invoice number and account number says we could look up other things and add information to the emails or to the text based on what we see in the email. So it really enables us to do a lot of things. And let's see. Yeah, Mark sent one here. So cool. I'm glad you're getting to see those. If we get Patrick's anger one there, threaten one, we'll come back to it here in just a second. So you're going to see as we dive into this that part of this is figuring out what you want to OpenAI to do for you, and then asking it well. So you do some testing to determine. For example, I told it, and you'll see these instructions. I told it what an account number looks like and a project number and to look for invoices and things like that. So it knows what to extract in open text from the thing. You didn't make a good enough threat. You made it. You're angry, but you're not threatening. So let's take a look at what he actually sent. the actual text there about going to lunch, and it's pulled out my summary and my action items to do from this. I need to respond to Patrick. So very cool kind of extraction going on. Good. So hopefully you're sufficiently impressed by what you can get OpenAI to do for you that you'll hang around for the build it part. But that's where we're going now. We've done the demonstration. I'm going to go on to an empty system. We'll go ahead and build it. And the overview of that is that we've got to create a system that's going to receive inbound emails, and Plantanet makes that easy through our email sync add-on. We have to do some kind of evaluation when an email comes in, and then we have to do some kind of routing, use that routing information that AI generates, whether we're going to do an email, a text, talk to external system. We'll certainly get through these first two pieces of it today. I don't know if we'll get to do the routing, to take action, but that's kind of a simple step. So from a setup standpoint, I've already installed a version 125 system and some hotfixes, but I haven't installed our email sync. Yep, we got a question going on, so I'm going to go back for just a second. The evaluate button was something that I did during testing before. It forces a reevaluation of this item. So for example, if I were to change the instructions, it just runs through the evaluation logic and repeats and updates the evaluation JSON. So this would allow us, for example, to manipulate the instructions and then improve what it extracts from an email. And I guess I didn't really point out, but we have this JSON format that got returned. You probably noticed that it pulled it out into a field, support and urgency. I mean, department and urgency was pulled out and into an actual table field, so it's ready to consume by other things. But anger and threat and invoicing and whatever, it's hanging around in that JSON output, but we haven't really wired it to anything. It's just available information. So, all right. So we have to install the email sync add-on. So in my development system here, and I'll just show you in a preview that the system starts out as empty. So we just have a home page that's empty and in the configuration page, which is the standard Plantanet. And the only thing I've done, I've created a token called OpenAI key and put my secret key in there. Just so I don't reveal it here as part of the video. When you have an OpenAI account, you can go to into your view API keys screen, and you can create a secret key, give it a name, and it'll give you back a value, and then that's what you paste into this key that I created here. But I'm skipping around. We need to go to updates and install the email sync. So that is in add-ons, and it's here listed email sync, which allows you to manage email processing. So we'll install that. And it'll take a minute to do that. So in our first step, all we're going to do is get the thing to receive email and put it into a table. And then we're going to test to make sure that inbound processing is happening. And then we'll go on to do stuff with it. So we'll let this finish installing. I'm going to save a little typing time. If I go into my demonstration application and look at my entities, I created an entity called inbound email. And if I edit it, it has a lot of fields, a lot of properties as part of it. And they're all the fields that you would expect to be part of an email: subject, from name, to names, the CC, the body, all the fields that are revealed by as part of an email and will be revealed by our email sync. And so to move things along, I'm going to copy this, and so I don't have to type it all. I also will point out that I had some bad programming technique here in that I named some of my custom properties from and to our SQL reserve words, and those can cause you a little bit of headache. So that's probably not the best naming scheme to use, but I wasn't thinking real well when I did that. Anyway, we'll go ahead and export my inbound email structure. So we'll just copy that. And within where we were working here, we can now see that the email sync is installed in our update. So now that feature is ready to be used. I'm going to go to entities and import that structure. And this will automatically create the pages and the tables necessary to work with inbound emails. So now we have an inbound email entity. We can edit it. I'm going to close down my demonstration group here, so we're not going to be going back and confused by that. We're only working our Café 137. So we can see we have all these fields now within the system ready to go, including our split out of department urgency summary evaluation. So the place where you'll see where we populate this is going to be done in our automation section. What we need to do is to create a new job. That's job is going to be go out and get information from the email server and create a record within Plantanet. So this job is going to be called something like get the mail. And I'm doing a little bit of copy and paste here so that I can keep it moving along. So it's going into my portal, Café 137. I'm going to give this a name. I'm going to look at my users and do it that way. So I have a user with this name, so I'm just going to copy and paste this. This means that this job is going to run as if it were this user. So it gives it a certain amount of rights to be able to do things. So now we start working with triggers, and what we want to do is have a mail trigger. And we want to look at, we're going to use the IMAP trigger to go out and look at Google. So because my mail comes in through Google, and I have the parameters necessary here. So we have to set up some credentials. The credentials that we're going to do is going to be called and I'm going to create a credential entry. This is going to be a warm credential. And the host name for this, because it's Google, they decide what this needs to say. The host name is this. We need to use SSL. And the username that we're going to monitor out of this IMAP is going to be this. Now, when you, with Google, they give you an opportunity to generate an app password. And I am going to add this password in here. Actually, I'm going to add it in over here. Click save, just to not reveal that in my recording. And get this back over here. So now we have an entry for our mail server, and it's the Dale Warner entry. So I can, hopefully that'll get me where I need to go to retrieve mail. And mail, I'm just going to start getting mail from today. That'll be fine. And I don't want to go through all my old mail. I only want to do it for new emails. And I'm not really going to want to use attachments. Aside from that, I am going to I'm going to filter my email by subject, and I'm going to take everything that is Café 137 live. So I'm going to use regex and put an asterisk at it. So this is only going to process things that go to Café 137 live. When this trigger reveals lots of content, which you can see in the comments, every time it gets an email, it creates these tokens. So there's a mail to, a mail CC, all these different tokens are available, and that's what we're going to use in our actions to create a record. So when this fires, we have a mail item ready to go. And so the action that we're going to do is to create a new inbound email. And then it's a question of filling in the blanks. And so we will start doing that. The subject, and I have these over here. I'm going to copy and paste them again so we can move along. But these are the ones coming from the trigger, and we're wiring them directly into the creation of the record. I took the approach of extracting almost everything from the email so that it would be available. There's a lot of this that we're not going to use, and so we'll hide it out a little bit. At this point, we don't have a department or an urgency or a summary evaluation. We don't even really need the record because, well, I'll go ahead and get it. This is we'll put the ID into something called new ID. We're going to use it later. And if we want to, probably one of the things that are useful, we will create a log event just to know. Actually, we don't need to do that. We can see if something appears, we'll know. So we'll see it in the table. So we can save this. And it's not happy with me here. We'll see if that error comes back or goes away. So let's do a test email. So it says it's running and then it stopped. And let's take a look at inbound emails and see if it created that. So we have one big long inbound email. So we have done objective one. We've wired this to retrieve emails. So anything that's going to Café 137 Live is going to get added. I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup on this because there's a whole lot of information that we don't really need. So ID is good to keep, subject to the from, but we're going to start turning off things that we don't need visible on the screen just to keep the screen simple. Don't really need to know who it's to. If there are any questions, this would be a really great time for them. I'm going to leave the date sent, and we'll make that be body. I'm going to make that available in the detail view so we can look at it much like we did on the other one. Like to collect a lot of data, even if we don't use it. It's easier to have it available. I'm going to move the summary up to the top just so it's visible at the top. Yes, Jerry comments, a master off switch would be useful. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's save that and see where we are. So much less information on the screen. That's useful. I am going to make a couple of more cosmetic changes. So on the views, I happen to like my buttons on the left. So that'll be an easy one. And then I'm also going to create a button that is to see the details. So I'm going to add a special button for inline details. And instead of doing a custom view, I'm going to take the easy way and do a detail view, which just everything that was flagged as in the detail will appear in the right sidebar. So we now see we have a details button, and we can see the summary and the body, and that's it. And actually, yeah, that's fine. So back to our objectives. We've gotten the email in, but we've created the inbound email entity, and so now it's time to do some routing. And I'm going to do that by way of a workflow because it makes it real easy to test and repeat. So we're going to create a new workflow. The one we're going to create is going to be called inbound email routing. I'm going to take one input, which is the email. And it is the type of an entity called inbound email. So this, just by doing this, now we get access to all the fields of that inbound email. And this is going to be a required field. And so then that gives us what we need to process it. In terms of processing, what we're going to want to do is to go to OpenAI and get it to give us information about that email. And so now we have our OpenAI actions, and you could use chat or summarize content. I think last week we did a lot with chat, so I'm going to stay safe today. I've already got it done on another screen, so we'll do this. My OpenAI key is the token that I've prepared previously. I'm going to use GPT-4. It's a little slower, but it does a little bit more for us. And the instructions, I'm going to copy and paste them. We can look at them in detail. And it's probably a good time to go over them, at least to see what we're doing. So I'm telling it that it helps us to route emails. I want to consider the subject and body and determine what departments the email should be sent to. And if it's unknown and I want to send it to support, the email discusses project details. Even if there's a reference to price or cost, it should go to the installation department. So this is just your business rules, right? You have to think about what it is that you want to do and express it to AI in a way that makes sense to AI. And then I added a group spam. It's amazingly good at detecting spam. So I'm telling it what my departments are, and so now it knows where to route it. I'm just, without a lot of instruction, I'm asking it to determine urgency and pick low, normal, high. I'm telling it what my account numbers look like, and so that it knows how to retrieve that. Telling it what project numbers look like, P with a 4 to 6 digit number. If a project has a status, then we're going to get a status project property for the project. And I'm just getting it to evaluate that. You can express it any way you want, but it's going to come out with okay, ahead, behind. So I'm introducing some standardization into the values and getting AI to do the work. I'm telling it to do invoice numbers in an array, just because there might be multiple invoice numbers, and an anger level and a threat level. And I've given it some ideas. A rhetorical threat might be 5. I'm going to kill you if you don't get this done. Versus, I'm going to pull a knife on you in a dark alley. That might be a threat of actual violence. So that might be real important for to figure out if somebody's getting mad and giving clues. You could act on that. All right, we're not going to have any previous messages. This isn't going to be a conversation. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't finish out here. I'm telling it that I want the results in a JSON format, and I'm actually spelling out exactly what I think this should look like. Now, when I did my experimentation, it was producing JSON just as I expected it to do, but and I used the JSON it produced and put it into an example, because once I got a format that I liked, I didn't want it to pick any other format. So I'm telling it this is an example of the JSON. So now it knows exactly how to respond every time. Okay, no previous messages. The message that we're passing is this. We're telling it the subject is the subject that's coming from the email input, and the body is the email body text. So it knows exactly what to do. And I want to store the output message that comes back into something called eval JSON. It's just going to give me the JSON back. And so that's it. We give it some really explicit instructions that we can modify over time. And then we take the JSON and come back. So I want to really do 2 things with the JSON that comes back. One, I want to set those 2 specific variables that I thought were worth extracting. And so I am going to use a JSON parser, parse JSON into tokens, and take the eval JSON that came out of the last thing and put that into a token named eval. So this will extract all those responses so that we can dig in and use them directly. And the way that I want to use them is through a partially update my inbound email. The email ID that I want to use is the one that came in from the email. So we're updating the one that came in, and we want to extract department particularly, we're also going to do urgency, and then the full JSON is going to go in here. So from the eval token that got created in that parse, we'll get the department. Same for urgency, and then the whole JSON is going to be here. And so we'll save that and end. And we could have an output that might be useful to let us know this thing is working. So I'm going to create a debug output and put those same things that I just did so we can see them quickly, that we evaluated out the department and the urgency, and in the same way, we'll get the whole JSON. This will just tell us quickly is that if everything's working. I don't really need these at this point, but we'll tell if it's working. Okay, and then it's time to test this. The email that we brought in was email number 1. So I am going to save and test and give it number 1. Let's see if I've done anything right here. So it evaluated out to support normal. We see our full JSON has support, normal, the anger, the threat, all those things evaluated out. So that's good. And now we can go back over here and refresh and see if our update worked as expected. And it did. So we got our support, our urgency, and content. Notice for the things that it didn't need, like invoices and account numbers and whatever, it didn't include them in the JSON, which is perfectly acceptable. It just defaults to blank. Very sensible answer. Okay, so let's wire that so we can do some faster testing. If we create a button, and this is the one Don was asking about a little while ago, if we add an evaluate button, and with an action, we will just add the execute the inbound email routing, and the input that we're going to do is the ID off of the current row. We're not going to need those debug outputs. We're just going to let it do its work. And we'll do a data source refresh so that as soon as it's done, it will show up on the screen. So now we'll have a nice button to do that. And we'll refresh. So if I were to click evaluate, it's just going to do the exact same thing because it's got, in theory, it's got the same data. But in the interest of testing quickly, I'll change content of the email and so if I click evaluate, it should go off and do that work, and maybe we'll get a different answer in our evaluation JSON. So this is one way to test, right? You don't have to send emails. We can send emails, but you can just modify the data and process it again. If you don't like the results that you're getting, you might work at changing the instructions. So now we see it's still, now it's going to accounting, and we see our project with a status of behind, and we've got our invoice pulled out, not angry, got a threat. So then just to maybe expand on what's possible a little bit. Part of what we get in this information is what email address this was sent to. So let's say that you might build a processor like what we're doing here that gets different instructions based on what email address it was sent to. But right now I'm only processing. I mean, it's going to my personal email box and it's processing. If we were build a general purpose processor, you might have emails that come to your support email box that gets handled in one way versus things that are going to an accounting box handled a different way. Maybe most things that go to accounting email address should go to accounting, and so your instructions would weight heavier towards sending them to accounting, but it's really a support issue that you could redirect it to support. So you might need different instructions for different things, or a general box gets handled one way versus a personal box gets handled a different way. You could build that kind of a structure pretty easily by creating a table of two names and then providing different instructions based on the address it went to. So lots of possibilities there. Okay. I guess one thing that might be fun to demonstrate, and I'm going to go find, let's go into my email address and look at spam. Forward one of these. Something that Google thought was spam. Let's see what it thinks is spam. So if I were to forward this, I need to change the subject because I'm only processing certain subjects. So I'm going to say Café 137. Leave everything else exactly alone and see what it has to say. Oh, yeah. So we'll let that process out here. I am coming to the conclusion of the demonstration and build it part here. I hope you can, so if you have questions, now would be a great time. I hope you can see that it would be easy to wire these kinds of things that come in to go gather more information from your systems, to make an update, like project statuses, perhaps project statuses that come from project managers could automatically update a system with the project status. If somebody was inquiring about an invoice and had the right invoice number and account number, you could send them a copy of an invoice automatically. Lots and lots of things that you could do without, from an automatic standpoint. Maybe you forward directly to the right person, text directly to the right person, you respond directly. There's all kinds of opportunities once you've extracted the right data. All right, let's see this. Yes, sir. So this has come in, it hasn't processed yet. This thing I found in my spam box. So we'll refresh again and see if it's processing. Patrick, did you have something for me?
I was going to ask, maybe I missed this, but where did you wire the workflow to? Did you go back to?
I didn't. Thank you for that's
okay. All right.
So I'm going to do the evaluate manually because I didn't wire it to the automation, and that. So now we see, once we do the evaluation, it came up spam, and so that's it. It is working. What Patrick points out that I omitted, and what I was talking more than thinking, was that here, once we create the new inbound email, we need to do this same thing. we need to run the, I need to refresh the screen here. Execute the email routing, and the email that we're doing is the one that just came in, which we gave an ID of new ID, so we can just pass that. And save. So now when emails come in addition to getting created, they'll automatically be evaluated. That was an omission on my part, so good catch. Thank you. All right. So with no questions, I'm going to say this is.
And I think you on your the system that you're showing at the beginning of the call, you had an auto refresh on this, right? That was
I did.
Yeah.
Yep. If so, in terms of a couple of cleanups, that's a good point. And I guess it gives me an opportunity to talk about a bug as well. So first of all, we can set this to automatic refresh and every 10 seconds. The other thing I'm going to do is change this to sort by ID descending. And so as new things come in, they come in on the top. And so that's kind of a nice, easy way to see things. So Patrick, thank you. So you needed help now. And it routed it to sales with high angers and threats. I love it. So I need your response. Sales inquiry. I don't care if you're doing low code cafe, it can wait. And I may have to hunt you down. See, it's a rhetorical threat, and it evaluated as 5. An immediate response. So it did some anger and urgency. So really quite discerning. Thanks for doing that. You're going to have to be a meaner person than that. Get a true.
I guess I find that challenging.
Yep. So in terms of a little bit more cleanup, so I have a couple more minutes. The body is what we put in the detail view, and really it's the body text that's being evaluated. So I'm going to push that into the detail view, and then I'm going to change your words so that see if I can push it over the edge. Playing with the AI, right? Sure. I think it heard my click. There we go. All right. Kicked it up to a 7. Even still, it's not all the way. So there's still more. There's still more to go. All right. If no questions, I'd love anybody find your thumbs up if you think any part of that this is interesting. And I will also point out that we'll do low code campfire on Friday, and we can talk about it as well. So thank you. All right. With that, I am going to go on to summarizing out a little bit. This is where we said we were going to go, so you can use OpenAI to streamline your processing. I mean, if it's and I guess I'll comment a little bit. Time to you wouldn't want to throw every email that you get in a huge supply. I get hundreds of emails a day, and it might not be worth paying to evaluate all of them, but I have a system that I'm using to weed out 95% of the stuff that the automatic notifications and things that we get. So perhaps you just process the ones that don't get weeded out by some other technique, but so it becomes a little bit more cost effective to evaluate those. But be able to intelligently, I mean, if you have to, I don't know what the price is. If you have to pay a dime for some to catch that emergency email and route it and process it immediately, or to be able to answer somebody's question about an invoice without actually having somebody there, because you've built in a automatic send them a copy of an invoice routine. The value quickly comes to the top. But we did prove that we can route accurately depending on the departments that were available, very adaptable to, if you have a company with more departments, you just add more names of the departments plus explanation about what kinds of things go in there. We also talked about being able to prioritize and deal with urgency. And as you can see, since you can get out JSON, you can take that same information and push it into some other system that whether you develop your own help desk system or use a commercially available one that has an API, you can push the data there, push it to other systems, retrieve related information. The sky's the limit. So hope we got where you were trying to go, where I was trying to go. I am going to end out with my traditional From the Trenches segment. And so let's just talk about a few things, little housekeeping here. Our last release that is no longer the current release is 124. We had released 35 hotfixes since the last time I brought this up, and we have 7 more since the last time. So from an enhancement standpoint, 1.24.74, 5.24.07, these updates and tokens gives you better release information when you go to 125. If you don't install this hotfix, you can get to version 1.25, but it doesn't tell you about all the things that are changed or are breaking changes, things like that. So we advise that you install this before you go to 125, so you can get to see all that. And in a kind of unusual for us, there's a certain order. You have to have listings 524 21st before you do these other things. So read the notes that are part of the update screen carefully to see if you've got all the things that you need. But the short version is install listings, the latest listings, and then you can do these other updates and tokens, and you'll be able to see the 125 upgrade stuff. In terms of bug fixes, we had problems where the anchor tag was showing up as part of the query string in the search parameter, so that was kind of annoying, and so they fixed that. We had some issues with CAPTCHA, with drop down with checkboxes not getting the correct height, which meant that not all the items were showing. An issue with tabs when specific layout issue when it was set to accordion, and an annoying thing where our page builder wasn't showing the color that you selected for your regular users. So all those things have been fixed. In version 125, it's a new release, and we've got 10 hotfixes going on now, and we recommend that you install all of them. Highly recommend that you do 125 on instances where you can test and test thoroughly. It's always better to be able to test and roll back if you encounter issues. We think that the hotfixes that we released resolve the issues that we know about, and hopefully there aren't any yet to be discovered. In terms of new features that come with these, the updates screen was updated, so that's what we call our low code page template got updated. When you install these, you get support for the OpenAI add-ons. So that means you can go into you would have access to I believe I believe this is the one where you get the ability when you're in automation or APIs, the access to be able to do when you're working with SQL, to be able to get the additional SQL assistance to that understands your data structure and to be able to build SQL for you. We had a little weird one. We hadn't our odometer rolled over from 99 to 100, and our programming hadn't anticipated that there would be more than 100 releases. So we had to do a release just to support releases over 100. And yeah, App Builder supporting the AI features. So those updates are there. And in terms of bug fixes, there was a bug fix having to do with training. You couldn't create new APIs, and some definite serious ones having to do with the court scheduler not working at all and not working with email sync. And so these fixed those issues. Our apologies to the clients that discovered those. Beyond that, I will mention that we do low code campfire every Friday at 10 a.m. Central. So I'll be back on hopefully listening more than talking the same hour on Friday. And that's it. That's Low Code Cafe for the day. I'm glad that you joined us. Hope that we added some value, and looking forward to speaking with all of you on Friday.